Okay, I want to switch gears really quick. And I want to share two things that might be interconnected. I'm not quite sure yet, but they felt very significant enough that I wrote it down, and we're going to be sharing it today in this channeling and chat. I had a dream 2 nights ago on October 22nd, where there was a group of us. And when I say us, I don't know who it was. It just they felt very familiar. They didn't feel like strangers. But my conscious mind was not aware of who they were. It was a group of us. We were in an old church, an old cathedral, and I don't remember anything surrounding this scene. I just remember the scene and the significance as I was waking up. The cathedral was lined with books. The walls were all lined with books, leading up to the archway, and these felt like ancient tomes, ancient texts, and that felt very significant too. This cathedral was dark inside. There were candles that were lit, which I don't know if we want candles around books, but that's the way dreams go. Um, and I remember it was dark stone. The stone was dark, almost like black stone, like you might see weathered stone, like you might see in some very ancient cathedrals, and that's what it feels like. Everything felt very ancient. Um, these texts also felt very special. It felt very protected. I had a thought for a moment that this might be kind of like a version of the Akashic Records. It doesn't quite feel like that, but it had that same sanctity about it. It had that same sacredness about it. It felt like it was important that we were there. This felt like a gathering of wisdom, of knowledge, of forgotten history. It felt very sacred. And again, this place felt very protected. Many years ago, they're reminding me of this now, so I want to share it. Many years ago, I had a dream. And it's funny how certain dreams just stay in your mind. I had a dream that I was actually flying, a very rare occurrence in my own dreams. I had a dream that I was flying across a landscape. It almost looked like Australia or New Zealand. It was so lush and green. And it was filled with mountains and valleys and streams and rivers. It was so vivid. The colors were so vivid. I've never experienced anything like it. And I was flying, and I was coming in for a landing in an old wooden church. And I remember it was wooden because I flew in through, it was almost like an attic, where the bell is, the steeple, I guess you could call it, but it was a room. And it looked like an attic. It was wood floors, and there was no windows. It was just open air. When I say no windows, like there was no glass panes, but it was like an actual window that I flew through. And I remember landing, and I remember feeling that feeling of freedom as I was flying, and that feeling of groundedness as I landed, and centeredness as I landed. And I remember feeling like this was such a sacred experience. Like this was such a ethereal experience. And I can't remember why I was in that church. There was nothing truly there. It was just the feeling of being in that church itself. Um, and again, it wasn't even a church itself. It was a wooden building, but it had that sanctity. It had that sacredness about it. As any church, Mother Mary, when I was in Lourdes, she told me during meditation with her on the banks of the river, she shared that all water is considered holy if we decree it so. Well, the same for churches. Doesn't matter the structure, doesn't matter the place. Your church can be the woods. Your church can be a forest glen. Your church can be something inside of you. It is something inside of you first and foremost. That is your sanctuary. Your sanctuary is within you first and foremost. So that's what this felt like. And that's what this cathedral feels like in this dream that I had 2 nights ago. It felt like something sacred. And so in this cathedral, there was a woman. She was short. She had stark white hair. And she was very, very thin. She was wearing a pink blouse and like some kind of skirt, I believe. And she was kind of a guide, maybe even a protector of this cathedral and all the texts and tomes that were in there. And she said to us that her greatest wish was that the shuttered windows were open again. So there were windows in the church, there were stained glass, etc., but they were closed up so you couldn't see the stained glass, and that was what was making it so dark. Even though there were candles, it was dark in the church. It was because the windows were closed. There were doors, shutters on the windows, on the stained glass. And she said, it's my greatest wish that these shuttered windows are open again. And one by one, this small group of us, went around and we began opening the shutters, opening these doors on the windows so that the light was shining back in again. That feels very profound considering what we are experiencing in our world, where it feels so dark, maybe even desperate. We might feel deflated. We might feel like everything is lost and we're trying to protect everything that is near and dear to us, everything that is close to us. We're trying to protect ourselves. We're trying to protect our knowledge, our intuition, when the world is screaming something else, when the external evidence is saying something else. We're trying to maintain and protect our own connection to ourselves, to God's source, to each other. It seems like the world can feel very dark right now, but one by one, we are each opening those shutters. We're letting the light in, and we do that within ourselves. That cathedral is our own inner sanctuary. That cathedral is our own connection. That cathedral is our very soul, where we hold that wisdom within ourselves. That wisdom is not outside of ourselves. I say this all the time. We have healers, we have guides, we have gurus, we have readers, we have psychics, but they are reflecting what we know in ourselves. The best healers, guides, etc., readers will always be a reflection of you, reflecting and validating, confirming what you know to be true, which is why it's so important to have discernment and to trust what you feel is true for yourself. When we're going to a reader, for example, like myself, it's because there is something that we're not able to truly see or unlock within ourselves, where we might need that support from somebody else to help us navigate, to guide us. But that is all a reader is. A reader, for example, is a guide. A healer is a guide back to your own healing. A reader is a guide back to your own intuition. It is all within you. And that's what this ascension journey shows us. That's what this ascension journey teaches us. No one is elevated above anybody else. We're just different places on the path to help navigate each other, to help guide each other back home to ourselves. And so that's what this feels like. This cathedral felt like our ascension journey, where we are connected within ourselves. The window is open. The light can shine through. We can tune into our intuition. We can tune into our heart. We can tune into higher power, all being one and the same, all being connected. When those shutters are closed, that wisdom, that insight is hidden away. And so we feel disconnected from ourselves. That's all separation is. Separation is an illusion where the windows are closed, but all that is still there. Who you are is still there. All we have to do is have the courage to open the shutters and let in that light.